The emotional pain that comes from dealing with a mental illness, it's not apparent to people around you. And even when it is apparent, it may not lead you to seek help. While I was in my late 20s, my little brother was in Texas, which is where we are from, and he was struggling with schizophrenia. I didn't know he was struggling with schizophrenia at the time because I didn't really know what schizophrenia was. I didn't know very much about mental illness at all. He started to have hallucinations, auditory and visual, and delusions. In his case, he thought that he was on a reality TV show and that there were people who he called the cahoots who were trying to destroy his life. I learned all of this because I moved back to Texas for a little while and he moved in with me. But it became very clear once he moved in with me that something much more serious was than just teenage apathy was happening. So I would make dinner and he would refuse to eat it because he thought I'd poisoned it. It was clear that he was getting worse and worse, and it took my brother a long time to see a therapist or psychiatrist. When he did, he was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, and he was prescribed antipsychotic medication, but they couldn't make him take it. And in the state of Texas and most states, that's just the bottom line. Someone can be involuntarily hospitalized and they can be given medication, but there's nothing that makes the person follow through on that. I moved back to New York after a while, and my brother, he left the keys to his apartment on his coffee table, and he left. He didn't let anyone know where he was going. We considered him missing for between 3 and 4 months. I did everything I could think of to try to find him. I contacted the FBI, certainly the police, but no one was very concerned that my brother was missing because after all, he was just one of thousands of people who are possibly living on the streets. So I went to see a psychiatrist myself after all I had been through with my brother. And the psychiatrist I saw diagnosed me with major depression and anxiety. When I started to come out of my episode of depression, my brother resurfaced. He actually had hitchhiked to New York, and he had decided that he wanted to be homeless. Actually preferred to live on the streets and really just kind of drift around. I tried to come to terms with that as much as I could. Dealing with my brother and my own depression and anxiety really made it hard for me. And I wanted to write about depression and I wanted to write about schizophrenia. So I started to do that in other publications. I started to write essays about my experience with my brother and my experience with depression. It was therapeutic for me to be able to get it out there. And a little scary also to let anyone who wanted to Google me find out what was going on in my life. But it was worth it to me. What I didn't expect was that people would start to write me. They emailed me or they found me on Facebook. I have made it my life's work really to try to figure out what to say to those people when they do write me. To the individuals out there who are struggling, I would say that there's no minimum amount of pain that you should feel comfortable having. If you're depressed or you're anxious or you're having panic attacks, don't think that you don't deserve help. There's no minimum amount of pain that someone should have to qualify for help. If I had not seen a therapist to help me deal with my brother, I never would have been able to help him at all. And even though ultimately his life ended, I did help him some. I know I did.